Well, what do you know? It's the weekend, and of course, into our lives marches Michael Snyder out there in California. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and I got all the troops ready. We're ready to take Berlin or something. Well, no, wait. I do have something war torn to discuss, and we have new movies setting a record for why did I go see this? That's happening this weekend, and of course, autumn is upon us, and I'm back in San Francisco for the end of baseball season. It's it's a damn cornucopia, buddy. So you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Dracula Untold is the war-torn CGI-driven action update of the story or origin of Vlad the Impaler, Transylvania's favorite son, and the enemy of the Turk, aka Dracula. Well, no, the Turk isn't Dracula, but Vlad is. It's purportedly the beginning of a full-on update of all these classic Universal Picture monsters. Not that we didn't already get an early shot at that with the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. The Wolfman and the Creature from the Black Lagoon next. I don't know. But ultimately, this was pretty disappointing stuff with computer-generated hordes and creature effects and animated explosions and very little character development other than the epic challenges faced by the hero. Virtually no character development from the supporting characters we're supposed to like or hate or identify with, including the villain, who is kind of the Sultan. This would have been really good maybe if the Count from Sesame Street was the vampire involved, one pointless remake, two lame sequels, etc. But a real waste of Dominic Cooper, who plays Dracula's Turkish frenemy, the Sultan, much better as Saddam and his double in The Devil's Double and many other films. Charles Dance is the cursed demonic he's the creature that ends up being pivotal in the story. Charles Dance from Game of Thrones and many other popular efforts. Luke Evans is sort of hunky and meh as Dracula, probably due to the script. He's also going to be the new Crow. He's in the Hobbit films, the Immortals. He's used to these kind of costume epics, but that doesn't make it good. And as Vlad's wife, you get Sarah Gadon, who's lovely, and blah. And blah. First big-time film for director Gary Shore. Tries to set up a franchise. This Dracula sucks, and I'm not talking blood. So let's move on to The Judge, which is Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall facing off in a drama about a big city lawyer who returns to his childhood home where his estranged father, the town's judge, is accused of murder. You got Billy Bob Thornton as the courtroom nemesis of our hero Hank, played by Robert Downey. Obviously, the town's judge is Robert Duvall, and he's had a very contentious relationship with Downey's Hank. Vera Farmiga is the small town girl that got away, grew up, and is va 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 boom. Vincent D'Onofrio is one of Hank's brothers, a former athlete gone to seed. Jeremy Strong is a third brother who is, shall we say, mentally challenged. And David Krumholtz is another rival lawyer. D'Onofrio and Krumholtz have really packed on the pounds. I mean, it looks like one ate the other until you see the other and think he ate the one. And ultimately, this is a drama by the numbers, and it's only kept from being awful by this excellent cast. And there's one scene in a bathroom. I just want to, you've heard the phrase brownout, right? Oh, my God. I never thought I'd see Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr. in a movie scene such as this one. Not impressed with The Judge whatsoever. St. Vincent is a dramedy written and directed by a guy named Theodore Melfi, and it stars Bill Murray as Vincent, who is a slovenly drunk, a gambler, an all-around loser who lives in a rundown Brooklyn row home and ends up essentially babysitting Oliver, a runty but smart and sweet 12-year-old boy, after school because the kid's mom, played by Melissa McCarthy, Melissa McCarthy, Mike and Molly and Bridesmaids, much better than she usually is, by the way. She usually plays the same annoying, overweight woman who flails for comedy and fails. But in this one, she plays the kid's mom who has to work long hours so she and the kid can survive. And as a bonus, you get Naomi Watts playing a pregnant Russian hooker. Terrence Howard is a genial thug. Chris O'Dowd, the Irish comedic actor, is a priest and a teacher at the kid's school, and others. It's a little soppy. You get life lessons and hearts of gold and such. And it seems like Murray's latest bid for a Best Actor Oscar, but he's good. He might be the only guy in the entire United States who could pull this character Vincent off. But the film, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet and funny, but it has bigger aspirations than it actually can achieve. And since the film is a Weinstein release, get ready for the big Oscar push because he does his very best to assure Oscar buzz. St. Vincent, I thought worth your time. A much better film in my mind is Whiplash, which is about an ambitious young drummer who wants to be terrific, great, wonderful, wants to be a star. So he agrees to study under a tyrant, a cruel conservatory instructor who actually is renowned for molding superb musicians, but also does so with a teaching technique that borders on sadism. Miles Teller, the new John Cusack, if you will, plays the single-minded Andrew, who is pushed to succeed, partly because his father was a failure as a writer, and dad, by the way, played by Paul Reiser in a nice little performance. And the kid wants to perfect his craft, and so he wants to be in the school band run by the tyrant, played by J.K. Simmons. And he's the guy who played the newspaper publisher J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. I mean, he's very familiar. He's the voice of, is it State Farm, Geico? I don't know, one of those insurance companies. You can't escape the guy's voice. And
yeah, I think it's State Farm. Yeah,
he's everywhere. Anyway, they are unbelievably great. Teller, has the youthful energy, and Simmons is the sly old hand, and that dynamic works beautifully in the movie. And you get your rival musicians and the girl that gets disrespected by our hero because he's so wrapped up in being a great drummer. But it's all about the student and the teacher. And it only works if we feel the kids struggle and how high the stakes are and the potential for a breakdown and physical damage. And it really is wrenching. While watching this thing, you're almost as drained as the kid must be as he plays his ass off. It has a lot of the power and potency of great music. So I say yay to Whiplash, directed by Damien Chazelle. It's his second feature film, and he knew a lot about this kind of thing. He was he aspired to be a jazz musician when he was younger as well. They nailed this thing. I really thought Whiplash was good. Kill the Messenger is basically one of those based on a true story situations. As a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist named Gary Webb finds himself cracking open, if you will, the possible story that the CIA fed the crack epidemic and drug smuggling into the U.S. And using the money to arm the rebels in Nicaragua. This is, again, a true story. He was a Bay Area newspaper journalist who was sort of on the skids, according to this film. And he decides to dive headfirst into this story, regardless of the consequences to his marriage, to his health, to his personal well-being, and certainly to his career. And this is actually one of the best performances I've seen out of Jeremy Renner, who's Hawkeye in the Avengers and the Bourne Legacy movies. He took up the mantle from Matt Damon. And I'm never crazy about the guy, honestly, despite him doing yeoman work. But in this case, it works beautifully. And it's a top-notch cast, including Rosemary DeWitt as his wife. And you also get Ray Liotta, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Michael Sheen, Oliver Platt, Andy Garcia, Robert Patrick. Everybody brings their A game. And I thought Kill the Messenger is good and disturbing and ultimately very sad stuff. And as a guy who worked in newspapers in the Bay Area, much of my adult life, this really resonated with me. And I remembered when all this went down. There are some maybe holes here and there and occasional slowdowns in the story, but I thought ultimately people should see this thing. Directed by Michael Cuesta, and actually Gary Webb's work figured into this thing. He is no longer with us, but this resonated. One Chance is, get ready for a shock. I'm sort of jaded, prone to cynicism, and I cannot stand these reality TV competitions, but I really liked the movie One Chance, which is based on the true story of a timid working-class shop clerk who wants to be an opera singer. The guy's name is Paul Potts. It's a true story, and he's determined to make this thing happen by going on Britain's Got Talent and dealing with Simon Cowell and everybody else. And it's your basic underdog against the odds movie. And, ultimately, again, I can't stand this sort of film because it seems so obvious, and I don't like the reality TV things, but this really worked beautifully. I have to say that James Corden, who is going to take over the Late Late Show from Craig Ferguson as its host, if I'm not mistaken, and is maybe familiar to fans of Doctor Who after a recurring role there, has actually won awards on Broadway for his work in a show called One Man, Two Governors. He created this popular sitcom in the UK, but he kind of brings together the sort of sweet-natured warmth of other plus-size guys like Jackie Gleason, Chris Farley, John Candy, and these attributes make him really, really ideal to play Paul Potts. And I thought this worked. I thought it was really sweet. Maybe it takes a few liberties with biographical stuff, but you do get Simon Cowell. It's really him. You maybe want to run screaming from the theater when you see him. But I like this. The director, David Frankel, did The Devil Wears Prada, which is also a very good film, better than this film. But I thought One Chance is a really good date movie, really sweet. It'll work well on video. And Corden is the heart of the thing, and good on you, buddy. All right, let's wrap this up. Hilary Swank and Emmy Rossum are respectively a classical pianist and a self-destructive singer-songwriter who develop a relationship when the former is struck with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, in a movie with kind of a weak-ass title, You're Not You. The latter of the two, the singer-songwriter, becomes the pianist's unlikely caregiver. I thought this was earnest and timely and sad, all these ALS challenges out there, a bit Lifetime movie-like. But the women were both solid, and even though I think it was a bit over the top in places, and like Mary in St. Vincent, this strikes me as Swank is doing a little Oscar bait here, the kind of movie that she always gets recognized for. So there are those who might call her out for it, but even though it's got that corny aspect of it, the women deliver in You're Not You, and I think women in particular may relate to it. And directed by George C. Wolfe, who's a Broadway veteran with a lot of esteem. And finally, I Am Ali is a documentary about the legendary Muhammad Ali with access to his personal archive of audio journals, interviews, and testimonials. And it's fascinating stuff and very intimate and stuff you've never seen, real unvarnished looks and listens at Muhammad Ali. But there are significant gaps in the biographical narrative, specifically regarding Howard Cosell and his relationship to Ali. There's virtually nothing about that. And stuff about his daughter, Layla Ali, who actually followed in his footsteps and became a boxer. But the other kids are involved and many, many significant people. And I understand the lure and limitations of using the archive as the foundation. And if these other people didn't want to be involved, or Cosell's estate, so be it. But I thought it was a fascinating document, and again, something that'll work well on video. I Am Ali, which is directed by Claire Lewins and written by Claire Lewins. Video, what do you got in television land, buddy?
I don't know. I'm exhausted from all the movies you just mentioned.
I tell you what, they're out there.
Maybe we should stop mentioning the bad ones and only review the good ones. I don't know.
Well, I like it. I like attacking stuff. That's fun. That's part of the fun.
Yeah. Television, nothing much. The new season is out there, and the old shows are back, and the new shows are struggling, and
What do you like that's out there? What's appointment TV for you right now?
Well, I mean, you mean of the new stuff?
Yeah.
Probably Gotham is one of them. I really kind of like Forever. I really think it's a terrific show.
He's like what, an immortal cop, right?
Yeah, but it could be just hackneyed and all of that, but it isn't. And he's a young guy who has a partner played by Judd Hirsch, who is the son he raised. So
Wow.
I just think it happens to be a better than usual show. Anyway,
nice.
Anything to escape anything. Any shows that escape you from having to deal with Shonda Rhimes, I think is a good show. Actually,
I kind of wish Shonda Rhimes was just a phrase instead of a person.
Yeah. Well, she's a Shonda for something. Anyway, and the other show, of course, I've been watching because I love comparing it to the original, is Grace Point. And I watched episode 2, and then I went and got my copy of Broadchurch, and it's shot for shot, word for word, even though they credit the screenplay to teleplay to somebody else.
Weak.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically every shot for shot the same show. Note for note.
The original was great, and so if people haven't seen the original because they don't watch BBC or are afraid of British accents or something, so be it. But I think this is sort of ridiculous. I just heard there's going to be a French Broadchurch. I guess it's going to be called the Broadchurch.
Well,
I don't know what it's going to be called.
No, I mean, I can see a French Broadchurch because it's a different language altogether, you know.
Right.
But, I mean, Broadchurch was seen in this country on BBC America. So if you've seen Broadchurch, you don't need to see this. Oh, I understand there's going to be a different, what do you call it? Different
Killer?
Killer, yeah. But as I was saying I was talking to my friend Checky the other day, I was saying, that's the easiest thing in the world to do. All you do is suddenly say, oh, it's the priest, for instance. And then you
That'd be awful. I like the priest.
But then you just jigger everything, so it's the priest, you know. So it doesn't matter that you're going to change who killed him.
Well, and the crazy thing is that David Tennant, star of Broadchurch, is the star of Grace Point, using an American accent.
Yeah.
I hear he's going to star in the French version. They're giving him a beret and drawing on a little thin mustache.
I doubt that. I really doubt that.
No, seriously.
Hey, listen, around the world, there are 30 versions of The Office, you know.
Oh,
so,
sure.
Anyway.
Franchise.
Well, yeah, otherwise in TV, I can't think of anything else that's really catching. Yeah, I mean, Arrow's back, and I like Arrow, and The Flash isn't bad. And
I like The Flash. I thought The Flash was kind of fun, a lot of fun, and we'll have to see where it goes for the second episode, but I really enjoyed the first.
Yeah, I'm not one for superpowers. You know, I like Batman because he doesn't have superpowers. I don't like Superman because he does. You know what I'm saying?
I don't like Superman because of that garish costume.
Because when you've got superpowers, then how are you going to get killed? You know? Anyway. Hey, listen. I think we've run out of time.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay. Tell them where to find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and check in at my Facebook page, Michael Snyder's Culture Blast. Give it a like, give it a look, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you, Michael.